Hey, what's up everyone out there? I'm Jakejames Lugo, and welcome to the channel. Now, I grew up as a Sega kid, and I got a chance to play most of the classics that were included on that console throughout the entirety of the 90s. One of those games in particular that really stood out to me was Beyond Oasis. And I always felt like a lot of people never really talked about this game too much. It's been mentioned here and there, and it's been included in a variety of different Sega Genesis Classics collections, but nobody ever really sat down and did a review of it. So I figured, you know what, why don't I be one of those people that actually does so? Let's just dive right into this review. This is Beyond Oasis for the Sega Genesis.
Beyond Oasis is an action RPG for the Sega Genesis developed by Ancient in 1995. The game has been ported to many different devices over the years and has been included in a number of Genesis collections alongside many other classics for the console. Funny enough, Beyond Oasis has a different name in both Japan and Europe, where it's known as the Story of Thor, a successor of the Light. It's the same game, but some of the names are changed depending on which territory you're in. For us in North America, the story follows Prince Ali, a boy who finds a magical gold armlet that can summon various elemental spirits. By putting it on, Ali reignites an old battle between the spirits of wizards from within the gold armlet and an evil silver armlet that threatens his home. Using the power of the gold armlet, Ali sets out on a journey to stop the wielder of the silver armlet and protect the land from falling into chaos and destruction. It's a very simple story that has a mediocre conclusion, but everything else built around it is slightly interesting. A lot of what's here feels very similar to the Legend of Zelda series, but Beyond Oasis doesn't really reach that same level of quality, however.
Putting it straightforward, I don't think that the story is all that great with Beyond Oasis. I feel like it's very simple in nature, it's very easy to get into, but there isn't really a satisfying conclusion. I didn't feel like there was a lot of complexities with the characters, there wasn't a lot of payoff with some of the different things that happened throughout the story. Just overall, it seems kind of mediocre at best, and could be one of the reasons why a lot of people don't really resonate with it too much. And it's funny I say that because, again, I love RPG stories. I love just spending a lot of time within a given world, especially if there's a lot of unique aspects to it. But this one didn't really kind of click with me. There never really was one thing or a couple of different things that stood out to me the most and really stuck with me long after I finished playing the game. But outside of the story, which I feel is mediocre at best, the one thing I do want to comment on that I feel like is the best aspect of Beyond Oasis is its gameplay style.
Gameplay in Beyond Oasis is straightforward, with combat done in real time. You can move around and traverse the world map while getting into fights against enemies that appear all over. The controls are simple and allow you to do a bunch of attacks and special moves with Ali, though some of them are a little bit impractical with how to do the inputs to execute them. Ali can fight with all kinds of weapons, including his dagger that sometimes feels a little bit more of a better option than every other weapon in the game. You can find swords, crossbows, and bombs to use against enemies, but the dagger is going to be your staple weapon for just about everything. Ali has this quick attack combination that, if used right, can be abused in many ways to bring down just about every boss in the game. However, because of the weird hit detection and wonky situations you find yourself in, you can end up getting damaged over and over without a solid chance to recover and counterattack. This happens a lot with boss fights later in the game, where it feels like the odds are heavily stacked against you in ways that seem a little bit broken. Defeating enemies does yield a variety of items Ali can use for both health and magic recovery, but he can also pick up hearts and gems that boost the strength of his attacks. However, much of the game centers around finding the 4 spirits of the gold armlet around the land and using them to traverse dungeons and fight enemies. Some of the spirit abilities are helpful and interesting, but not everything from them is useful all the time. Including the spirits as part of the gameplay is clever and shines in later dungeons of the game when you have to switch between them to get around, but the backtracking is very bad when you realize you need a specific spirit to get where you need to go. Pair this up with the lack of fast travel in the open world between areas outside of the dungeons, and you have a real nightmare traveling around the game. It would have been nice to have an item that warps you around to different points, but there isn't anything of the sort, which is definitely frustrating.
I really enjoy using the different spirits from the gold armlet in order to get around some of the dungeons and discover different secrets here and there. I feel like that's the one thing that makes Beyond Oasis really unique compared to other action RPGs that are out there. Even though I really enjoy the combat for what it is, again, I love the real-time combat and all just the maneuverability and the controls themselves, there is a lot of different quirks that I feel like really kind of detriment the game overall that really start to stand out towards the later portions of the story and other dungeons that you kind of get into that are a lot more difficult. A lot of the difficulty comes from different situations you kind of get caught in when it comes to actually fighting different enemies, or just when certain big baddies just constantly attack you and there's no way to kind of react and counterattack, that you kind of get stuck in a loop of just taking damage constantly. The other thing I also have to mention is that the frequency of item drops with different enemies, especially in later dungeons, tends to really drop off pretty hard. Compared to earlier in the game, you're getting a lot more health items, you're getting a lot more weapons, and a lot of different stuff that you could use throughout your entire adventure, but when you get towards the later dungeons, it just seems like all the different item drops that you really need at specific points just stop entirely. Something else that I also feel that's important is that some of the abilities of the spirits to the gold armlet aren't all that great. There's just certain abilities that you're not really going to use all that much, if at all, throughout the entirety of the game, which I think is kind of a shame because they are very unique and it's very cool to see these different spirits and have it so kind of integral to like the navigation of some of the different dungeons. But for the most part, I'm only really using one spirit and one ability frequently compared to all the different spirits and all their different abilities that you have at your disposal. But let's also talk about the presentation of this game overall, which I feel like is very hit or miss.
The presentation of Beyond Oasis is okay for a game that was released on the Sega Genesis, however, a lot of the background visuals do end up looking bland and monotonous. Some spots have very poor choices of colors, and a few of the random objects get in the way of your view of the action. Enemy designs do get very repetitive throughout, with a few new bad guys towards the later end of the game. Some bosses look pretty good, but a few are lackluster with how they look and fight. The most generic part of the game, however, is the music. It just sounds so basic and hardly memorable. The main theme of the overworld is the same as the main menu music, but even that sounds super bland. Had this game been given an overall better soundtrack with a little bit more catchy music, I believe a lot more people would have played it over the years. A lot of the musical themes you find in games like The Legend of Zelda and others like it stay with you long after you shut off the game. There just isn't anything like that in Beyond Oasis. As a total package, the presentation of Beyond Oasis has its hits and misses. I just wish there was a lot more there to catch my attention. The game is also pretty short too. I finished Beyond Oasis in about 5 or 6 hours, and it's possible for others to take a lot less than that for completing the game. Because of this, some people may come out of playing Beyond Oasis and feel like it was mediocre at best.
I really believe that one of the big problems of why Beyond Oasis never really caught on with other people back then on the Genesis was because its music was just so lackluster and generic. Don't get me wrong, I love the presentation as far as the visuals are concerned. It's very colorful all throughout, even though some of the backgrounds are kind of bland. But I feel like the music is something that in RPGs that really kind of stick with people long after they finish the game. You're always going to remember that one theme of a particular boss fight, of a particular town, or anything of the sort, and I don't feel like Beyond Oasis really has that. You pair that up with all the other issues that the game has, including some of the enemies feeling a little bit more generic and repetitive, as well as also some of the little bugs and glitches and stuff that happen with its gameplay, and overall you're going to get a game that just feels mediocre at best. I still feel that this is probably one of the better games included on the Genesis's library, especially for when the time it was released. But I also feel at the time that on the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo, there were far more superior games, whether they were action RPGs or just JRPGs, that overshadowed Beyond Oasis completely. Even though I enjoyed Beyond Oasis back on the Sega Genesis when I played it in the mid-90s, I don't think it's really aged too well. There's just a lot of other games that are in the genre that just do things better and offer better, more meatier experiences. The other thing I really have to mention is that Beyond Oasis you can finish in like 5 to 6 hours, possibly even less. In less than a day with all that different stuff, you're not really going to get much out of it compared to some of the other RPGs that were being released at that time frame. Regardless though, if you just are curious and you want to see something that was a little bit more different than some of the other games that people always talk about, you can check it out for yourself. Beyond Oasis has been ported to many different consoles, including iOS and other mobile devices. But if you want the easiest way to play it, it's already included on the Genesis collection that's on the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One and on PC. Anyway, people, that's my thoughts on Beyond Oasis. This is a game I've wanted to review for quite some time because I feel like not a lot of people really talk about it, but I'm really curious about what you guys think. Let me know what's up in the comment section down below. Make sure you guys tell me some of your thoughts about Beyond Oasis, whether you love it, whether you hate it, whether you grew up with it or not, or if you're just curious about it, or if you have any other thoughts, put it down in the comment section below me. Curious to see where you guys are at. And also, don't forget to leave a like on this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel for all my videos that I post up on here weekly. I post new game reviews, new vlogs every single week. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying all the different games I've been talking about, all the different subjects I've been touching on. Really trying to bring you guys a lot of different content. And also, I have to give a big shout out to Jasmine Russell for supporting me at the Beast tier level on my Patreon page. You're getting shout outs for the entire month, as well as also on every single video that I upload here on the channel. If you guys want to get the same amount of love, or if you guys want to support my content, visit the links in the description box below. There's stuff that goes directly to my Patreon page with a whole bunch of different tier levels and rewards that I'm pretty sure you guys are really going to enjoy. I will talk to you guys again very soon. Peace out, and stay epic, everybody.
Hey, thanks a ton for watching this video review, guys. I really appreciate all the support y'all have been giving me. Make sure you guys subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos, and check out some of the ones I have for you here on the side. I'm pretty sure you guys are really going to enjoy them. I will talk to all of you again very soon. Peace out, and stay epic, everybody.